Welcome everyone. This is Demo5 explanation video, and this demo was the idea of this demo was born after I have a long conversation with my customer Tony, and help for him. Thank you for him that I recognize that there is a uh, like big missing part for the customers, like demos, missing demos actually, uh, which explain how to use the base file with a synchronous API. So in this demo I try to close this gap, and let's start. Let's first run the demo itself, and let's do that. So once I run the demo, I will see some records here, and I could add record and see them again. Whatever I add, it will show here. Quite simple and obvious. In general, it's just extremely simple example. The most important is how it's done, and understanding why it's done this way. So in the files, in the assets SQLiteKit asset, you will find this folder, and this has of 3 files. It's what we will looking at now. So we have 3 files. Demo object 5, it's this script which you will find here in demo scene. It just has those 2 buttons, and we have a model, which quite simple file, which just represent database structure, not database, table structure, which I call it scores as example, of course, and DB, Demo5 DB, which is manager for file Demo5 DB, which is our from beginning start at streaming assets, but during the execution it will be moved to this path over here, which you could delete later on just if you want to play with. And after you install it, actually there is one error will happens, but don't worry, this is not the big deal. It's quite easy to fix because it happens because we need to do one thing particular for this preference. We need to change order. Oh, it's already here. Good. Good. Okay. Let's come back to this. Let's jump to the code. Okay, in the code, demo object is extremely simple. Those 2 buttons which insert new record to the database and read contain whatever in database content of this database is quite straightforward. So for inserting, we just create new model, fill it, and ask to insert into database with a callback which return to us the new record with a ID, because you could notice there's no ID here, because ID of this record will be given on the insert to the database, right? Okay, and yeah, model. This is a model. It's, as you can see, just simple, almost struct. Okay, and the most important here, and here we need to talk about a couple of things. First of all, what is database? Database is some file which contain tables, and it has to stay with the client sometimes, right? And in the progress, you will upgrade your database structure. You will add some tables and so far and so forth. And what to do if you have old clients which has a old database which you want to keep, and you upgrade it, and you upgrade the client. So you have to work with the old database. And to do that, we have a versioning, migration. And a migration is the moment where you open the old database, and by changing the old database, you make it as a new database by layout, by structure. So in this demo, I implement kind of classic way to control it. So in the code, we have a constant, which is a version. In this example, we have version 2. This is for example purpose, of course. And this value is the final value, the top value of the version for the tables inside the database. And later on, I will show in the code how we will use this value to check against existing value inside the database and do modification accordingly. So this is migration, and this process called migration. So migration version, this is versioning. This is next. It's instance. So this is singleton, because in this demo I expecting that the database will stay open from beginning till the end of the application runs. Like because sometimes you might need like session-based thing. It's a little bit different because you need to open and close multiple times with a different names supposed. But this is could be different example, not now. So this is a singleton which we create if not exist, make it live forever, and do initialize. Let's jump to initialize. What initialize is? Initialize is actually do the migration. It's open the not okay. First is not uh, um, it's not open. First it does it do copy from streaming asset to the persistent folder, because in especially on for example Android or another platforms, streaming assets, it's not folder which you can open the file and write. It's just for read only. So persistent folder is there, database has to leave, like update it or something like that. So for this purpose I need to copy from streaming assets to the persistent folder, and this function does this. But if, let's jump in here, but if file which we're looking at exists, it will does nothing. So it just will copy only on the first run, first time. This is what it will do, nothing else. Just because if your database there, it's there. And again, I just repeat. Once we run the demo, you will find you will find the path here in this console as the first log. This is where is this database in the persistent folder. So this is it. And good. Let's go next. Next, we will do synchronous operation with database. Because right now, as you remember, this initialize happens on the first moment of the access to the database. So this actually prepare the rest of this manager API. And what it does, it's open the file from persistent folder, and if there is encryption involved, you will uncomment these lines and put your key here, but I'm not recommended to do that on development stage, and in general it's not really important. And it will open database and try to find version table. If it found the table version, it will try to read, and if it read it, you will read the version of the current database file. Okay, what happened next? We check the database version against our version which we put and like at like 2. Okay, and for this demo, what happens if there is no file, or file empty, so the version will be -1. That means it's never happens, so this reading never happens, so database is fresh new. So what we have to do, we have to create new database file. So we create the table and fill the table with the version 1. I did on the demo purpose, so version 1 is just version table. And migration happens like by steps. So the next step, if I'm checking, is the version 1. Okay, so that's mean we need to migrate to version 2, and it means that in the version 2 we will create table scores and update version to the version 2. Just imagine if your client has a version 1 and he read the version 1 here, so this part will be skipped, and we jump here and just create score table. So in this way you keep your database updated, and you can support your old databases for user statistics or user tracking information, or any other information which you want to keep on the client for next updates, and keep it this way. So I implemented this demo the most like difficult type of database supporting migration things, because in general if you just do record only for session, you will no need this thing, because you will just create table, record your session and upload to the server and never come back on this client again. Here it means that you record something which you want to keep for next session, and like for example your weapon selection, your profile information, your action selection, your statistics, and so far and so forth. Then you need this type of migrations. Okay, so this is initializing. Good. Let's go back, and I want to show this log flag. As long as we don't want, for example, once we do update score, we don't want to do delete in the parallel, So I introduced this lock lock boolean just to prevent um, overlapping of database operations. So it makes sequence. For example, if we do update score, we put lock on it, and while we do these operations, delete will wait till current routine will complete, and then once it complete, it will do put flag lock to false, and then this code will be free to go, and it will lock by itself and just continue. Nice. Okay, and let's show me the start of this object. The start is quite simple. So now we start to work with, so we finish with synchronous part. So we just make sure database is has a valid version, everything fine. So now we have to run asynchronous database. So this is what happens. We have this nice function which will open database, and again, if you want encryption, you have to put this immediately after you open database, and you put lock false. That's mean we ready to accept any requests from another other objects. So which request I implement here? Uh, the most I think usable, like has a biggest functionality inside, it's select score by level, because it has a bind operation, which is we have a question mark and we have correspondent bind. So this is you will find as example for any query SQL queries with conditions. This is how you will do that. So we do select with score where level equal question mark, and in the bind callback, which is this one, you will put the level to the SQL query. Then you will do step, because this is a select, so you interesting whatever it will return. So it has a callback, so every time once it will find something to give it to you, it will execute this function with flag true. That means we have something, otherwise it will be false. I mean, it's there is nothing there. I mean, we did select and we didn't find any records, so here it will be false. So we have a true, so we have a model, so we create for us a new model which we will give to the code outside, and here we have just storing it for waiting till we read everything. Once we read everything, we have to close, release this current query. And once we're done, we release the lock, so any other request can continue. And if we have a callback, we give the result to it. It's it. And delete score is just example again, so I'm not using anywhere, but just function which you can just see how it can be done as well. It's mostly the same as a select, but simpler because the step has nothing to read. And we have, again, we just wait our lock. We make a query delete from score where ID equal, so boring, 1. So we put bind. We take ID from the model which we want to delete. we do step, so we actually do that, and the release. Finally, we do release for others to be able to continue. Update mostly is the same as delete, but not delete, but update, and has more question marks, and that's mean more beans. Simple as that. And insert, it's most tricky one actually. Oh yeah, this is good to explain as well. So insert is mostly as a select, but have a look on this. See, once we try to add new record, right? So we don't have ID. So we insert in the score, we insert the name, level, score, but ID will given by database, because ID, if we will go back, where is it? If we go back to the declaration of database, not database, sorry, table score, we will find that ID, this is an auto increment integer. So that's mean wherever we will add new record, it will be auto incremented, and we don't know the ID before adding it. Okay, so we insert the new record, of course bind these values to this query, and on this tab we do use some SQLite kind of hack. It's not hack, it's actually widely used things. It's function which return the latest inserted ID and assign it to the model. There is another way from another database, like here, where is this database? Let me show you. This SQLite master. There is a way to do it from SQLite master, but it's more expensive. So this is most quickest way to get ID. And what left? Nothing left. Okay, so this is it. So from my perspective, this is the most basic way, but which implements the common sense for database file management. So what kind of improvement you can do in your project? You can do wrappers for this. You can put save function or whatever, and in general it could be done multiple way, but please focus on the migration. This is the versioning. Versioning code. This is what you have to like understood properly if you need it, of course, because maybe you don't need that, but it's good to know. And the second thing, it's you have to understand about what is the streaming assets folder and persistent folder. What is the difference? Streaming asset, you cannot guarantee to able to read it, or not read it, actually write it. On PC, Mac it will work, but on Android not. So you have to copy it to persistent folder to work with your local copy of your database. This is you should understand. What else? What point else? Yes, and lock. Yes, this is the most novel thing which you have to keep in mind, that if you can imagine, if you will do that on the middle, like if you do some delete and update simultaneously, then you will get some problem, I guess. But so this is the way you can separate these actions. on your database file. So generally this is it. So this is a Demo5. Thank you, Tommy, to show me this gap in my demos, and have a nice day, everyone.